Hello, everybody. Barry here from NintendoFuse and from the Switch Mania Playcast. Now, if you're watching this, first off, thank you. Um, as many of you might be following me on Twitter, would have seen that I made a post that I would be doing a solo episode of the Switch Mania Playcast. We're busy with some really cool stuff. I can't share just yet, but we're taking a little break from the Playcast, so I was going to do a solo episode and ask you guys some questions. And unfortunately, the rest of the team didn't really want to do solo episodes. They wanted to just post some of my old industry talks, actually. So that's cool. So either at the time you're watching this or shortly after, I believe my Decoy Games interview uh, from Industry Talk series here on YouTube will be going on to Anchor. That's a really cool interview. You should check it out. Their game Swim Sanity comes out, I believe, August 7th. So it's really, really soon. Check that out for sure. And if you're new to the Industry Talk series, make sure to click on that Nintendo Fuse channel there. And not only we appreciate any subscriptions, but check the Industry Talk tab, and you'll see a bunch of interviews that I've done over the years, and it's awesome. Speaking of, I'll briefly say that there's an Industry Talk going live probably right after this, or shortly after. That's with my buddy Dan from Playcrafting. It's the fourth year we've done this. They're putting on a show, Play NYC. It is all digital, all free, online this year. That is August 10th to the 16th, I believe. So definitely check that out. Great show, great people. Dan is an awesome, awesome guy, and definitely check out that interview. He goes into a lot of what's going to be there and what it's about. One of my favorite shows of the year for sure. But yeah, so because they didn't want to do a solo episode, I wanted to just do that. Here I am. So yeah, I do have another industry talk being recorded next week with the developers behind the Switch game Dodo Peak. Looking forward to that too. So I'm not sure when that's going to go live, but hopefully soon. So yeah. So one of the things I wanted to do was just hear from you, hear from the community, and I'll say this: one of the best aspects to doing what I do is the community, is talking with other gamers, talking with other people who are passionate about games, who love the industry, who love talking about it, who love listening about it. And if you're still listening, even at this point in this video, even though it's only been just over 3 minutes, thank you. You are part of the reason why I enjoy doing what I do. It's fun to me, and you guys make it fun. So I do want to just thank you for that. Just for all the years I've been on the NintendoFuse. I think it's 7 now or so, and for the coming up on a year on the Switch Mania Playcast, as well as all the other guest spots and stuff I've done. I'm gonna I got another guest spot, another podcast coming up. I love it. I just love talking with all of you and love listening to you. So at any time, and even after the video, feel free to comment below and let me know what you think. Let me know any thoughts, any questions, and of course, I have a little. Oh, it's on this side. Little watermark here. That's my Twitter at Hawk Hellfire. Please follow me. I love to talk games on Twitter, and this is where I asked some questions. So well, definitely follow me there. I'm pretty active. Not as active as some people, but I try. So this week we had actually two big events, um, and I'll just do the one recently, the most recent one, quickly, which was the Xbox. Xbox had a game showcase. A lot of people hyped for it. I watched it. Um, I'm a gamer of all systems. I play them all. I play for the games. If I had to pick one, I absolutely love Nintendo, of course, but I play for the games. I am currently playing Persona 5 Royal on my PS4. So I don't let one system define what I play. I play what I enjoy, but I do collect for everything too. So I went into this brief history of me and Xbox. 'Cause I don't really talk about it. I didn't get the original at launch. I got the GameCube. Uh, I got it years later, and the main reason I got it, the Sega games, Panzer Dragoon Orta, Jet Set Radio Future. Those are the two main. Crazy Taxi 3, Toe Jam and Earl 3. Those are the main ones that I went for. Did I play other games? Of course, but I didn't really gel with me as much. But I did play more multi-platforms that were like definitive on it. Like for example, Burnout 2. I played on the Xbox because it was like the director's cut. It had extra stuff. So why should I settle for a lesser version at that point? The 360 I did get at launch. That was a tough one to get. I waited outside. Um, I love the 360. That was my system of choice overall. Like any multi-platform game, I pretty much played in 360. But the main reason I got it, not only did it come out a little before, a year before the other systems, so it was new, shiny, but it was mainly for the Mistwalker games, Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey. Big RPG fan, absolutely had to get those games. I did play like Oblivion and stuff like that too, and Enchanted Arms, which was a really early JRPG. Tales of Vesperia, of course. But that was my main reason for getting it. And then when the Xbox One came out, I got the Day One edition. Super hyped. Let's see what it's about. And I think I played 8 hours total on the system. Like the PS4, the Wii U, the 3DS, the Vita, and now the Switch, all took my attention away from the Xbox One. So I feel kind of bad. it's it's one of my smaller collections that I have games for. I mainly went for the exclusives or for certain multi-platforms that I support, like Mega Man. I definitely want more of those type of games. But I haven't even touched the exclusives like Sunset Overdrive. I wanted to play Quantum Break. I wanted to play Rare Replay. I wanted to go through. Um, Even like Recore. I never got around to it. Maybe that's one thing I'll do, but I think I played like Crimson Dragon, which was a exclusive Panzer Dragoon um, homage or style game. I played some Rise, which was not that good, and some Forza 5, and like that's about it. Um, it just a little Rise of the Tomb Raider, but then that went to PS4. Going into the Xbox One or Xbox Series X or the Xbox Sex, as I like to call it. Um, I'm not really jamming hype. I'm not. They're all like, oh, all their exclusives will be on other platforms or PC, and I usually play every system for their exclusives. The multi-platform games. I'll play on my system of choice, but I mainly look for the exclusives. So the big exclusive that Microsoft's doing, which isn't really exclusive, I think it's going to maybe PC, but definitely Xbox One as well, is Halo Infinite. I'm not a Halo fan. Did not care one bit for that demo. I'm really happy for those that love Halo. Oh my God, Halo's the best, and then good for you. I'm happy. I'm happy you're happy. I'm never going to be disappointed at a game being released because even if it's not my cup of tea, that means it could be yours. And I do not believe in pissing on someone else's Cheerios. Good for you. I won't be touching it. That's not saying I won't pick it up down the road for $5 because I probably will. I got all the other ones, so why not? My game of the show was not even in the show. It was in the pre-show, and that was Balan Wonderworld. That game looks incredible, and actually brings me back to where I said, I got the original Xbox for the Sega games. Well, this is a Sega game, and it's also not an Xbox Sex exclusive, so I probably will. I'll definitely be picking up for the Switch. I'll probably be playing it on the Switch as well. So that was cool to see that. The rest of the show was very, some interesting style games. Like Medium looks really cool, but it's just not my style. I'm not a horror game. fan. A lot of darker games. Forza looks great, but I don't really play, Forza. I don't really play, realistic sim racing. It's like the Horizon games are cool, but like the standard Forza, it doesn't really appeal to me. I tried like Gran Turismo and Forza back in the day, and I just couldn't get into it. Just not me. But it was a decent show overall. Um, Nothing that really super grabbed me. Everwild and Fable were probably my next two highlights. Fable looks really interesting from the little trailer we've seen. I like the Fable series. I really have. I like the open nature of it. But this is, going to be an interesting one because it's no longer Lionhead and Peter's gone. Uh, as for Everwild, I'm I'm jonesing for some classic Rare. I didn't do Sea of Thieves. It didn't grab me. I wish that Rare would use their IP. They're not. They're doing their own thing, marching to the beat of their own drum, which is fine. Create new IP, but we want to see more. And I know they announced like a Battletoads game. Where was that? Is that gone? Is that vaporware? Didn't look the greatest, but at least something would have been nice to be talked about. But yeah, overall, it was a decent show. Uh, I'm sure I'll talk more about it on the NintendoFuse podcast, and I doubt we'll touch on it on the playcast. But I figured I'd address it because it was definitely a big show, and hell, Balan Wonderworld, that alone, and interesting to see Dragon Quest XI-S go into other platforms. That was my game of the year last year. I love that game. I'm happy to see more people be able to play it. Uh, it's just an awesome game. So if you haven't played it yet, if you don't have a Switch, then pick that up on your system of choice when it comes out later. So the other big news that came out, and I'm going to refer here briefly to Twitter because I asked for feedback. I wanted things. So this was actually asked by a couple people. So I want to call them out. I want to call out the people who did it. So this is Gladiator 50N, which is at Gladiator 30N. Go figure. He asked, "What do you think about the Nintendo Direct today?" And also, the Jokester, Mr. J, which is at the Jokester _ Mr. J. I like to give attention. He said, talk about the mini Direct and the backlash that's been going on with it. In the video Nintendo put up has a horrible amount of dislikes on it. And he himself actually uploaded a YouTube video about it and has 5 downvotes because they're mad that he triggered them. So apparently, so yeah, let's talk about that Nintendo Direct. That Nintendo Direct was announced 10 hours before it came out. 10 hours. That is insanely short. And that shows that Nintendo can literally drop a Direct at any time. Now, it was leaked and we had rumors that it was going to be announced, but still, they can announce one right now. And we have no way of knowing. So that's just an interesting thing. Usually there's like a build-up. Stay tuned next week. We got this digital event or this Direct. Nope. This was just a 10-hour notification. And for those of us on the East Coast, it came out at midnight. For Europe, it came, like the announcement. Europe, it came out in the middle of the night. So a lot of people woke up and were just like, oh, look, the Direct is real. And it was a mini Direct, and it was a partner Direct. And it was like 8.5 minutes long. I think that was a mistake. And the reason I say that is Nintendo has already set a precedent for actually releasing information at set periods of time. Now, we may not all be happy about all the information they share, but at least they're communicating. The last official Direct was in September of 2019. That was the last Direct. We've had the Game Awards. We've had a couple indie showcases or Indie World or whatever. We had back, it was March, I believe. or April, we had a Nintendo Direct Mini, which I think was like 20 something minutes long. So that was decent. We've had like two Pokemon Presents. We've had a couple Smash Brothers things, but we haven't had a full Nintendo Direct since September of last year. So now it's been months. People are antsy. We don't know any concrete release date for any Nintendo first party game since Paper Mario launched. So everyone's expecting what's going to happen. And now we're not also talking January to June period, which is typically a slower period, especially for Nintendo. We're talking the July to December, the holiday season, the busiest time, the back end of the year when Nintendo usually loads it with fantastic titles. So what do we get? Well, we get 8.5 minutes. We get a one thing I'm happy about is a physical Cadence of Hyrule. That game should have been physical to begin with, but I'm happy we're getting new DLC and it's all coming together as a physical package. But that game's also been out already. Great game. Only game I actually bought digital, at least on the Switch. We got a wrestling game that we already knew. That looks cool, but we already knew it was already up for pre-order. Rogue Company. That looks kind of interesting. But the biggest thing after that was the Shin Megami Tensei. And we got Nocturne getting an HD remake, which apparently it won a poll in Japan, so that's why that one got picked. That's going to PS4 and Switch. And then finally, something on Shin Megami Tensei 5 that was shown off for the one and only time when the Switch was first shown off. And I think it was January of 2017. So I'm super excited about those games. It's been a long time coming, but neither of them are 2020. They're 2021 games, and we don't have full dates. Just mentioning about about Shin Megami Tensei. There was Gladiator stated that he is looking forward to Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, which I agree. That game does look really good. That is getting a physical. And so is Shin Megami Tensei 5, which I'm excited for. So he's also excited for it. I think that's cool. I'm excited for it. I know other people are excited for it. So yeah. So that was the Nintendo Direct. Now the Backlash. A lot of people, like I said, are just antsy for information. We just want some type of communication, and people didn't feel this was enough. It was like you're starving for food for months, and someone says, "Here's a couple breadcrumbs. Enjoy. I'll fill you up." No, no, it won't. The lack of communication is the biggest issue. Now, it's not the lack of games. I don't care about the lack of games. I don't think a lot of people care about the lack of games. I think they care about the lack of communication. If Nintendo just came out and said, "Look, we've been delayed because of COVID. We've been delayed because of other issues, and how we're dealing with things, and please be patient," I don't think people would give them crap. Look at the Metroid Prime 4 announcement. They came out and pretty much said they had to start over. They were not happy with it. They started over. Retro's doing it. People were happy that Nintendo A upheld quality and B told them. Now they didn't have to make that video. If they didn't make that video and we haven't heard anything from Metroid Prime 4 since that title reveal at E3, we would have been like, what happened to it? Kind of like Bayonetta 3. Kind of like Pikmin 4. Stuff like that. But they told us. So our expectations can be in check. And I think that's important. So talk with us, Nintendo. That's where the backlash is coming from. It doesn't help that we don't know any release dates for the games you have. I mean, we were all assuming new Pokemon Snap, which is a terrible name, will be coming out soon, but we don't know for sure. And I think that's a problem. And it's an easy fix. Now, another thing they stated, which is kind of unsettling, is they say that the delays aren't affecting their 2020 schedule, but 2021 could be impacted. Well, if 2020 schedule is not impacted at all, or not really a lot, other than like the Smash DLC, which Sakurai did communicate and say would be delayed. Um, what is going on? If this is your standard 2020 schedule, what do you have for the rest of the year? What are you sitting on that you're not telling us? And why are you not telling us? We didn't have E3, but we're still jonesing for information. We still want that stuff. So Nintendo, what are you doing? Give us the information that we need. Just tell us. You don't have to show us. Just at least tell us what you have planned. Because as of holiday 2020, what are we playing? What are kids asking for? You know, we don't know, and I think that's a problem. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, that was a big issue. So that was pretty much the news. So then we have some community questions. First off, Brian at Ensenju said, "Oh, a solo episode. I like this." So thank you. I'm glad you like this. I hope you're listening, Brian. Uh, and I hope all is well with you. Thank you for the feedback. So then we have Jakester, good buddy Jakester, at Jakester428, said, talk about back catalog progression. That's a toughie. Um, like most gamers, I've got a back catalog. I think most people do. Um, just games we're trying to get through, games we want to go back to, games we don't have the time for. Like I said, I'm doing Persona 5 Royal now. That was a game I wanted to play the original Persona 5. I didn't get to it till an add-on was added and re-released. I'm really enjoying it. It's not perfect. Uh, there's little nitpicks that I have with the game, and if you haven't played it, do I recommend it? Yes, I do. It is a good story, good characters, fun combat. The dungeons are really cool. The setup is really cool. The story, like I said, is really good. But if you played it, you'll know that it's not perfect. And my nitpicks are they're nitpicks. Whenever there's a game that has any type of relationships, and Mass Effect is another big issue with this too. When there's a games that especially RPGs, where you can develop personal relationships, whether it be romantic or friendship, doesn't matter. I like to see those carry over into the main story because that's the whole point of having relationships is to make it realistic. Hey, two people work together. You're probably going to build a friendship, a level of trust. But then to go into the meeting, like if boss calls you all into a meeting for a briefing, and you act like strangers. To me, that just it takes me out of the story. It's like, whoa, hold on, I don't believe in this anymore because to me that's not realistic. I wouldn't just suddenly act like I don't know my best friends when just a moment ago we were talking how close we are and how we love hanging out and how well we know each other. That's just so jarring to and in Persona, not only can you romance girls, but you could also befriend the guys and just have what they call confidants. And then when you get to the main story, and they're acting like they don't even know each other because you can do it in your own pace. So the story assumes that you haven't done anything, almost like you're neutral with everybody. It's like the safest bet, but that takes you out of the experience. At least takes me out of the experience. I don't think it would have been so hard to make three different lines of dialogue, and I'm not talking the whole scene. I'm just talking dialogue. If you're like 0 to 3 in the confidant, they say this. If you're like 4 to 7, say this, and if you're 8 to 10, say this. Um, I don't think that would have been hard. It would have been extra lines, but it would have made it more of a complete package. Other little things like, if you're in a relationship with somebody, have them like sit together. Like, oh, we're all going to sit around and have a meeting. Well, usually if you're a boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife or anything, usually you sit together. Not all the time, but usually. Just move them together, It's not unrealistic. I did have it funny. In my game, I romanced on, which I think is more like the standard romance. I mean, she's got the lovers confidant, and she's all like, when you romance, oh, I love you, and oh, I want to be with you forever. Cool. I'm okay with that. But then we go on a trip to Hawaii, and she's like, "Oh, what kind of girls are you interested in?" In a story cutscene, like, why are you asking me this question? This is very jarring. We shouldn't be talking about this. And then there's like a festival, and you can be with somebody at the end of the festival. So I picked her, and she's all like, "Oh, this is nice, you know. Oh, maybe together forever." Oh, well, I can't believe I said that. What do you mean you can't believe you said that? You just in the confidant thing, you're like, "Oh my god, I love you forever and ever." Like it's so jarring. Like it feels like these cutscenes are not communicating with each other. And I don't know. That's just me. I like in a story-driven game for consistency. And Mass Effect does the same thing. You go into the solo cutscenes between the characters, and you have that romance or that bromance, and you have that real tight knit, and then you go into the mission briefing, and you're acting like nothing. Like, oh, what do you mean you can't trust me? Well, yeah, what do you mean you can't trust? You're like romanced, or you guys are like the best of the best friends. And it's just so jarring. Like they put the needs of the story above the relationships, and then they tout the relationships. So it's a nitpick. It is a total nitpick, but I'd like to see things like that addressed in future games. Um, there's also one scene where you're chasing a car around. I don't want to spoil anything, but one of the one of your characters says, "Boy, it would be really great if we had a vehicle to chase them around with," and their persona is a motorcycle. Like, get on your motorcycle and chase them down. Like things like that. They're nitpicks. They're like, this doesn't seem realistic. Like if this was really happening, if that person didn't realize they had a motorcycle, I would assume somebody else would have been like, "You have a motorcycle. Get on that thing and go." But yeah, again, nitpicks. Great game. Speaking of Mass Effect, I did do Mass Effect Andromeda. I enjoyed it a lot more than people give it credit for. You know, it was not perfect. It was not as good as the original trilogy, but it was a very good game in my opinion. And of course, I'm playing it post patches. I went back and I did the Life is Strange series. Was a series I wanted to get to. Really enjoyed it. Definitely the first one in Before the Storm. Uh, just awesome. I love visual novels. I love like to choose your own adventure. I also went and did Detroit Become Human. The game I was very excited for when it was revealed at E3. Got it. Actually, got it twice because I got it originally and then they released it as the Quantum Dream Collection, which was the only way to get Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls physically in the States. So I had to buy it again. So yeah, I finally got to play it, and I did. I really enjoyed that game too. That game it just flowed, and that game showed relationships. That game had each character having a relationship, and it carrying over, and I liked that. Very well done. Very recommended. I'm trying to think. Like that's mainly been my main catalog or back catalog I've been working on has been PS4 because I've been focused on the Switch so much. And I'm still at the get the Paper Mario. I haven't started yet. I know it's the next Playcast game. I'll be getting to it. I'm just trying to finish Persona 5 first, and I think I'm getting close. Animal Crossing is just a thing I still do. And yeah, I tried Color and Cross Malice. Maybe I'll go back to it on the Switch. It was slow. It gives me the slow Steins Gate vibes. Steins Gate Elite. Like that game is a slow burn. But I love Steins Gate, and I love that story. And after that slow hurdle, like climbing that hill, when you get to the top, and oh man, it's so good. So I kind of think Color Malice is like that. I have to try to get back into the mood to do that. So maybe I'll get to that. But yeah, that's been my back catalog. I want so many more games. I wanted to do like the Yakuza games, and maybe I will have time because there's apparently not a lot coming out in in the second half of the year thanks to Nintendo. So we shall see. So then let's go here. Closable at Closable 8, really good follower of the Playcast. Asked a couple questions. He asked the good ones. Let's start with this one. Which was one series you want to get ported to the Switch? So that's a toughie because you're only picking one, and I mean, I would say a couple, but I'm also not counting if one game was ported to the Switch. I want to see more. So the first one I'll say is the Tales of series. Vesperia did go to the Switch, so it's there. But I like to see the rest of the series go. Absolutely, the rest of the series can fit on the Switch. Great RPG series, fantastic. I'd like to definitely see more than Vesperia. Arise was just delayed. Now's the time. Let's get the rest of them. Um, I wouldn't mind seeing the rest of the Legend of Heroes games go. We just got Cold Steel 3, and Cold Steel 4 is coming. That's from NIS America. The other games are Xseed. Well, I believe Xseed. They definitely have Cold Steel 1 and 2. And I believe they've got the Sky games. I'm not sure about the Crossbell games, but I know they're getting re-released in Japan on PS4. Bring them west. Bring them to the Switch. Great, great games. I would love to see them there for sure. I'm trying to think what other big games would be really cool for the Switch that I personally would like. I'm trying to like look over like PS4 stuff, and I'm trying to think like, hey, what game I'd like to see, some Nintendo stuff get ported and even new games added. But there's still some Wii U games I wouldn't mind ported and GameCube games. I'd love to see Eternal Darkness get more love. Geist from End Space was a overlooked shooter, and I'm not a big shooter fan, but I love the premise of the ghost thing. That would be cool. Bait and Kados, Monolith Soft. I'd love to see those two games get put on the Switch. Fantastic RPGs. Let's see some Dot Hack. Get some Dot Hack on the Switch. Uh, that'd be awesome. Another series that's often forgotten about at this point, sadly. Yeah, just stuff like that, like some really good RPGs. Classic Final Fantasy, more classic Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger. We've got the rest of the Mana games would be cool too. We get like Legend of Mana and Children of Mana and Heroes of Mana, Sword of Mana. Put them on it. We got the Collection of Mana and the remake of Trials of Mana. How about the remake of Secret of Mana as well? I know it's not the greatest, but I can see that being ported. So those are some of my answers. What are yours? What games do you want to see ported to the Switch? Let me know. Um, he also asked, so this is closable again. What is the one thing you wanted on the next version of the Switch, or what is one thing you want upgraded? Sorry, on the next version of the Switch. Hmm. I think the easiest answer is graphical capabilities, and it's not because I want to see prettier graphics. I think they're fine. It's mainly for third parties to port stuff over, uh, to make ease of porting. Looking at the Xbox Sex showcase and looking at the Ubisoft Forward that we just had, there's a lot of games look pretty. Switch can't run them. And if we want to see Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Far Cry 6 and stuff like that on the Switch, they need to be able to run them. And look at Doom Eternal is still not out in the Switch and is coming, but that's the exception, not the rule. And look how much of a delay. So I would definitely want to see more graphical capabilities. That's the main thing. I wouldn't mind cheaper physical media, and not for us. I'm not saying like, oh, I'd like to pay $20 or $10 for it. I mean, I would, but I'm talking for the publishers. If they made those cards cheaper, then maybe companies like Capcom wouldn't cheap out and say, oh, here you go. Here's a collection of 2 or 3 games, but only one is on the card. Or Square with Final Fantasy, where they did that as well. Or, the worst offender, 2K, where you don't even get a game on the card. You get parts of each game on the card, and the rest are download. Uh, I think that's huge for a physical collector. Want to see the full game, want to preserve the full game. And I know cost is the issue. They take the cheapest card they can, and just to get a physical version out there. Some don't even go that route. Some just put a what we call the physicals. Not a fan of that. I think that's a bull. But that's what I would like to see. I mean, those are the main things I would like to see. Uh, you know, more memory, faster RAM, better frame rate. Of course, all that stuff goes with the graphics. In terms of quirky Nintendo stuff, I can't think of anything. The Joy-Cons already do what the Wiimotes did. They've got the IR camera. They've got the amiibo functionality. Yeah, I don't even want to try to think of a Nintendo quirky thing or gimmick or whatever. Just because I like to keep things simple. Like I play my Switch mainly docked, and I play it with the Joy-Con or with the Pro Controller. I don't really use the Joy-Cons, but they work for games like Clubhouse games and uh, 1-2 Switch and stuff like that for sure. So there's that. But that's the main thing. Graphics, just for the ports alone, make it easy. Last question Closable decided to ask, which is actually the first one he asked. I'm answering it last because it's the hardest one. What is one game you have been disappointed with? That's a tough question. Because in order to be disappointed, you have to have expectations. There are games that I have not liked. In fact, if you've listened to the playcast, for sure, you've heard me say these games are just not good. These are not games that I terribly enjoy. But disappointed with means you had to have expectations. And I can say, not in a whole, but there are aspects of games I've been disappointed with. For example, I haven't tried it yet, but I know I'm already disappointed just from what I've seen. Paper Mario, just the battle system. No experience points in an RPG battle system means there's less reason to do it. And then to see like everyone's a puzzle, that's cool for the first few times. But I don't know how you play RPGs, but when I play RPGs, like I start off, I fight every battle. Like if I'm going to a dungeon, every battle that's there, I'm gonna fight because it's gonna make me stronger. But 20, 30 hours in, I start. You know what? I'm just starting to skip these battles. I'm strong enough. I'm just gonna start skipping. I just want to get through to the next story segments. I'm tired of. I got like 15 battles to do. And that's standard RPG fair battles. And now some are nice enough to have an auto battle system. Things like the Bravely series. I love that auto battle system. Persona 5 has an auto battle system. I love that because it just makes things smoother. But yeah, this to sit there and all right, now I got to use my brain. Sometimes you just want to turn off your brain, especially if it's weaker stuff, weaker enemies. So that's one thing I'm a little disappointed in. Again, I haven't played it yet, so I'm not fully disappointed, but I can, just from everything I've seen and heard, that's just one aspect of the game. Everything else I've heard is fantastic, and I look forward to playing it. I'm trying to think. That's really, really tough. Um, I guess Persona 5, the whole relationship thing, that disappointed me. It's a nitpick, but it did, just due to all the hype. So many people, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Um, I think that one aspect disappointed me, and it's just really tough. I don't usually go into games with expectations, um, other than this looks good, but you know, I try to keep everything grounded because there have been plenty of games that people have hyped up or people, oh my god, this is going to be the greatest thing in the world, and then it turns out to not be. I don't know how many of you out there remember the game Too Human. That was from Silicon Knights. That was supposed to be, I think it was started as an N64 game, and then it went to GameCube, and then it eventually wound up on the 360, and it was supposed to be part of a trilogy, and it was so bad that that was the only game made, and then Silicon Knights, pretty much died after that, and big hype, disappointed in that game. Some older ones, I could say. I loved the first Shadow Man, and I was disappointed with Shadow Man 2. It just was second coming. It was nowhere near as good as the first one. So that was a disappointment for older stuff. I'm just trying to think, like older like usually it's like sequels, a lot of sequels. Like as a kid, I was kind of disappointed with Zelda 2. And in fact, I actually thought Zelda 2 was Zelda 1 because I figured there's no way they went, from 1 to 2 that way. I felt it was the other way around. Little did I know. I didn't have an NES at that time. I was just playing at friends' houses. Um, the Mega Man X series definitely started going on a high point and then at a very disappointing end. And I think X7 is universally known as, and X6 and 7 both are really pretty bad, um, and very disappointing. Mega Man 8 is the same for me. I was very disappointed with Mega Man 8. I had high hopes for that game, and I think that is the weakest of the classic games. At least for me. I know some people love it, but to me, that was just a disappointing game. But yeah, those are just some of them. I'm sure there's more if I try to rack my brain and go through every game ever. But yeah, that was the end of the questions that I had. So thank you guys, all of you, for leaving tweets, leaving comments, asking questions. I appreciate it, and I wanted to get this video out there to answer your questions because I think it's important. I think it's important to stand by your word. My word is my bond, and if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So that's why I'm recording this here. I just want to address things. I want to get things out to you because I care about my friends. I care about the people who follow me and who communicate with me and who talk with me. And even if 5 people watch this video, and I those 5 people enjoy this video, then it's time well spent to me. It's just one of those things where I like to communicate, to help, to foster relationships. That's just who I am. I'm a friend to everybody, as some people say. But yeah, so that's virtually it. I again thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already followed me at Hawk Hellfire on Twitter, please do so. If you haven't already, and you've come here from the Playcast and you haven't seen NintendoFuse stuff, give us a subscription and a little bell notification and all that on NintendoFuse. We do appreciate it. And yeah, stay tuned for some cool stuff. We got a guest spot in a podcast coming up, and I've got the industry talk with Dan will be coming out shortly, and another industry talk will be out soon, and our next Nintendo Fuse podcast, which our podcasts with that are recorded live. If you've never seen one, they are live. They are on video live too, so there's no mess ups. I mean, you're gonna see everything. And we talk with the chats. It's really cool. So you can partake in that. We respond. That is awesome. But you could also view any of the podcasts afterwards. You can listen to them through all the podcast apps, or you can watch them on YouTube. The video is recorded. The next one is actually going to be the 3rd, August 3rd. That is recorded at 8 or put live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So set your alarm for that, and definitely make sure to join us. Absolutely love it. And we do have a Discord. It'll probably be in the description of this video or in another Nintendo Fuse video. Join us in Discord. We're always talking there too. I absolutely love to talk games. And yeah, thank you for being a fan. Thank you for taking the time to ask questions. Thank you for taking the time to watch this or listen to this. I know some people do other things while listening to podcasts, and maybe you're going to have this on and listen. And if that's the case, cool. Then I'm glad I could have entertained you for the last 45 minutes, and I hope I did. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know on Twitter if you liked this, if you didn't like this, if you say you suck, get out of here, then let me know. I'm fine with it. I just like to hear from you. So thank you again so much for watching or listening. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for so much for just being a fan. The playcast itself will be back soon. I think there's another week or two we're taking off, so maybe some old industry talks will go over there. I'm not sure, but when we come back, it's going to be something special. Until then, like I said, Nintendo Views, we're still trucking on. So August 3rd is our next one. And look forward to the stuff coming out. And hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope you're having a wonderful week. Keep gaming. Have fun. And take care. Thank you so much.